welcome to Wiston, and it is great to be able to welcome you here. Thank you so much for joining us,
right
everybody.
In the vineyard. This is the first on Instagram Live. We hope you're seeing us. We have just quite a lot of faith in our broadband, but you know.
I'm Richard Goring, this is Kirsty Goring, and we are delighted to welcome you to the 15-year celebration of this vineyard. Now, in truth, Kirsty and I were not here at all 15 years ago. We were on the other side of the world, in Canada, pruning and looking after vineyards on Vancouver Island, as it happened.
Now, even though I've got my Canadian jumper on, it is unbelievably chilly for May, we have to say. So I think without further ado, we should actually introduce our now current Vineyard Manager. No other than James McLean, who is standing right by us. And James, we thought it would be brilliant if it could be you who could bring us up to speed with what actually is going on in the vineyard now. Because I know for a lot of people this will look like there's hardly a plant.
Of course, yeah, no. Right. So obviously we've been through pruning. You can see it's cut right back now. We've just left these 2 canes for this year's growth. You can see the growth is finally starting to come now. We've had a very cold period. This is one of the big periods where we all worry in the industry about frost. We're quite lucky here. We are a slightly more exposed site. We're slightly higher up, and we're very close to the coast, so we don't get frost, or haven't, touch wood, had one in the 15 years. This marks 15 years. Yeah, so we're very lucky. It's not a massive surprise, obviously, having had the estate in the family for such a long time and such a farming background. It was picked for that exact reason. So yeah, lovely site. The buds now, as you can see, they're just starting to pop. These in about 2 months. It's amazing how quickly they grow. We'll be looking at about 1.5 meters, 2 meters. They'll be scraping this top wire by the time that we get to flowering, which is our second most nervous period. Flowering for us it's always a worry because of rain. So flowering really relies on one thing and one thing only: dry weather. It always happens to fall the week of Wimbledon, which used to be a bit of a curse, but as soon as they put on the roof on Wimbledon, it seemed as though everything dried up for us. So the last few years we've had very good flowering, but it's always a constant worry, and that's sort of the next couple of months. Because we have been a bit delayed this year, it's been a very cold start. We are looking already at harvesting probably a week or 2 weeks later than last year. But that comes with its challenges.
Yeah, then we have the joys of dicing with the early frost coming in.
Yeah. So,
always fun.
Weather.
Yes.
Classic British people.
Yeah.
Always talking about weather.
Absolutely, and there's always some part of the farm that needs sun or rain. So anyway, but I think talking about fun, I think we should join everyone else who is in here with one of Pip's absolute specialities. If she isn't talking about wine and vineyards, it is usually baking a cake. And there is one of those in here for us all to enjoy and celebrate together.
It's great. This is the one. And do tours. Then this is where they start, and we do tastings and things like that. So come on in.
Here we are.
So it's with Scott. This is my mum Pip and father Harry and Dermot, our winemaker. The party place, which is to 15 years. Such a brilliantly found. So I'd love to just pass you over to Mum really first, who is from South Africa. And Mum, do you want to say a bit about the vision? We've talked a little bit about how we turned from milk into wine out here, as regards the dairy, and how we invested in this. And I'd love to just hear a bit more about your story.
So the story really is that I met my handsome Harry when did I meet you? 1968?
You met me on December the 4th, 1968, in the afternoon, at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
When I was only 17. And he stole me away from our beautiful country, South Africa, but I came to beautiful England, and the first thing I looked at was the chalk and the flint, and I was so homesick for South Africa. My mum's family were French Huguenots, and they arrived in the Cape in 1688. So I think it's in my DNA to plant a vineyard on the chalk hills of England and Sussex. So anyway, I suggested it, and it was like a no-no for many years. But 34 years.
I would say it was thought about for many years. I take quite a long time to think about things before I act. That's the way forward.
But perfect timing, wasn't it?
I was going to say, you hit the wave, Harry, as they say. Caught the wave.
Tsunami wave.
72 would have been far too early. So we hit the tsunami, and 15 years ago we planted the vines. I remember, how many did we have extra?
300.
We had 300 extra vines, which we had to plant by hand ourselves. I remember finding that unbelievably hard work. It was just solid chalk.
Yeah, that's what you've seen the pictures of
Yeah.
on Instagram. Actually, that really is these two digging and planting. It wasn't just posed for the
My
photo.
goodness, that was hard work.
And it was a boiling day, do you
It
remember?
was boiling. I went off for a little snooze actually. I really felt completely
Yes, because there are two different outfits that you're wearing. But was that over a series of days? Because we obviously weren't here.
Yeah, it was only one day.
It was one day.
Yeah.
There was one jump before the snooze
Yeah,
and
please
one
finish.
after.
Shower.
Yes, brilliant.
And very hard work. I was completely, and I thought, my goodness, if wine is, if it's going to be like this all the way through, I'm not sure I'm going to make it. But luckily, we had friends who came and helped us, so we ended up okay.
And if you were thinking, like if we were just, thinking over the last 15 years, what would be for you two, like the high moment, what are the things that kind of stand out to you? What are the moments that you thought, wow, I really do love having a vineyard?
Good question.
Yeah.
Certainly one of my moments was Rebecca from Corney and Barrow came and tasted the wine early on, and she thought it was fine, and then she brought her boss down, I think it was Ollie, who came down, and I remember him tasting, and that was the first time an outside professional had tasted what we thought was fine. And it's all very well for us to think what we produced is fine, but when a professional guy who's going to try and sell it, and there's a tense moment when he puts his nose in, swirls it round, has a sniff, and you think, oh my goodness, what's he going to say? He might be saying, this is terrible. And actually he said, yeah, this is fine. He was quite reserved with his thinking, but that was a very special and very exciting moment.
Yeah, well, my exciting, well, there are many exciting moments. The whole, just planting the vineyard was an exciting moment, but was when we watched this press, which this cocktail press. Dermot wanted to buy, a very expensive one, is that right?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, and I said, Dermot, we don't even have enough money for a quarter of that. Go back to France and find a second-hand, third-hand press. And he did. And it's our absolute cathedral of joy, our cocktail press. And we were there. Dermot forgot the instructions, so he had to shoot off. We were all poised to do our first pressing, and we were all waiting. And he said, don't anyone come here. I haven't done this. I don't want an audience. I've just got to concentrate. So we were waiting, and then he came back. And then your parents came as well. We've been shooting. We were all in our gumboots, and I don't know what else. And then this juice came out of this press. And it was just like, oh my word. Our first pressing. And that was in 2000.
Do you remember the sound of the press?
Oh, and the sound, the African drum!
Compared it to an African drum.
Yes,
Which
yes.
was just wonderful, yeah. As it reverberated throughout the old building on the first floor.
Yeah, wondered if we were going to go through the floor, I think.
Now, one thing I thought I should say at this point, before we cut the cake, those of you, well, actually, first, I thought I'd say, just thank you. However long or short you've been with us on this Wiston journey, we are so grateful. Because actually, what we are, celebrating in wine that we now sell would not be possible without you. And I always feel I kind of am reaping every day all the hard work that these guys have put in over the years, and I'm the one who gets to welcome lots of people into this place and in this barn. And honestly, you bring so much joy and community, and all of you. But if you have a question tonight, this is a good moment to start thinking about it, because there is one of these very special Blanc de Blanc 2015 up for grabs for the winner of the person who puts in what we judge and deem to be the best question. So just get your mind whirring on that.
Can I also just say that this has been, I've got a big faith, otherwise I wouldn't be able to survive any of this preparation for this planting and everything else. And so I just also want to make a toast to our big man upstairs, who has watched over us and done miracle after miracle after miracle. And it's been an extraordinary, you have been incredible. Every time Dermot says, oh, this is amazing, isn't it? I say, yes, God's amazing for creating you.
And on that note, absolutely, on the celebration of the creation of Dermot, and this particular, never has he wanted to open a bottle so much, this particular Blanc de Blanc, it would be wonderful if you would give us a little rundown of what is going to be.
How appropriate, 15 years after planting our vineyard, to open the 2015 vintage Wiston Blanc de Blanc, which is an extraordinary wine. Let's have a little pop. Oh! A wonderful wine, and this absolutely characterises what we do so brilliantly at Wiston. Chardonnay loves the chalk, and we're all about chalk here at Wiston. And the Blanc de Blanc is made from the very, very best parts of the vineyard, which delivers the best ripeness and the best quintessential taste of our terroir, which is what this is all about. Combination of Chardonnay in old oak barrels, generally large 500-litre barrels, and Chardonnay kept in stainless steel. We like the marriage of those two things. One very, very old and traditional, and the other a little bit more techno, but we're a great combination of those things here at Wiston. And you know, it's remarkable that these wines, the Blanc de Blancs, have been so celebrated over the years. So yeah, happy 15th birthday.
Still not
There we go.
To all the Wiston family and all who have been involved right from the very, very start.
And those who joined as the going got good.
And as the team has broadened over the years.
Absolutely. Yes, 50 very happy years. And no less, and I feel all of you, and actually we do also a debt of gratitude to Wine GB, who have given us the huge honour. We have won Winery of the Year, not once but twice, and we feel that has been an incredible honour and privilege, given that now apparently 700 vineyards are entering the wineries. So we do feel very proud to see you standing here with this amazing wine.
Can we cut our celebration cake?
And that is absolutely that.
Who's going to cut the cake?
Mum.
Pippi has made this cake with the first lilac. Oh, decorating it around. Am I right? Is that lilac? It smells incredible.
Well, happy birthday to the vineyard, to the winery, to all of you. None of us would be possible without all our brilliant team, big family, and all of you who are celebrating with us tonight.
While Pippi's cutting, can you see Ashley, who is being our amazing cameraman? Do you see any other questions?
Yeah, there's a couple, yeah. So what's
I
been...
haven't blown it, sorry.
There we go.
Do you want me to
Oh
blow it?
yes, of
Go on.
Go on,
Thanks, James.
Go for it. Have we got a first question?
Yeah, so what would be the biggest challenge you've faced in the 15 years since planting?
What a good question.
2012.
Yeah, I was going to say. 2012 was.
There've been many.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So 2012, we were enormously lucky because our first vintages, 2008, 9, 10, 11, were wonderful vintages, but in very different ways. You know, 8 was small, 9 was large and very acidic, great for long aging, 10 was just beautiful in every respect, 11 was tiny and problematic, but really, really ripe. And then our 5th vintage, 2012, was the coldest, the wettest and the darkest officially in meteorological records for 100 years, and we didn't pick a single grape. So that was that brought us back down to
And there's cerebrals in the vineyard.
Yes, yeah.
The other challenge, I mean, this year, maybe James, I mean, actually sometimes trying to find enough people, it's remarkable the difference with the type of farming that Harry was very used to, when you have a tractor driver or two going over your wheat and barley, to suddenly the sheer numbers of people that we require in the vineyard when there is harvest, when there is pruning, when there is tying down, when there is trimming of the vineyard. And actually, when you have a year where people movement is restricted, that is that is a challenge and an issue, and we're actually, well in favour of the government allowing some more people in, or some wonderful English people coming and wanting to be involved.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's, as ever, the challenge is also the opportunity, and one of the amazing things about the Vineyard has been how it's brought people back into the land. So, as Kirsty said, you know, one person on a tractor can do hundreds, up to 1,000 acres of arable, whereas you need a whole team to surround to do this, and that's been absolutely brilliant. I'd say equally, 2018 was the most amazingly abundant year, but also it's a huge opportunity, but a bit of a challenge when the tank space got a little.
To say what the average, you know, we averaged sort of 30 tonnes before that. You know, yes, we had a big one in 2014, but it was 79 tonnes in 2018. That is for a 16-acre vineyard on shore.
Well, if I can just say for the record, there is nothing more exciting than when you're being inundated with the grapes, when you're on the telephone to France trying to buy new stainless steel tanks and have them delivered within 4 days. Thankfully, we're not trying to do that during Brexit. That would be a whole.
I mean, you used the old milk tank, didn't we, as well?
Yeah.
Don't worry, we cleaned it out. I always think that story sounds a little wrong.
Wonderful vestige from the dairy days. We had to break out the milk tank.
I've got another question for you then. Where do we see ourselves in the next 15 years?
Wow.
Brilliant question. That probably is more right.
So I think was it 2016? It was the International Cold Climate.
Yeah, the Cool Climate Wine Symposium in Brighton. Yeah.
And we sat there and we listened. And I think for the first time, the speed at which the climate was changing really came home, because you've got some of the top climatologists in the country and around the world actually were speaking about how fast that is moving, we all are so aware that climate change is just one of the major things, and actually one of the great things about it is it brings us all together. So where we're slightly over competitive with one another sometimes with our businesses, it feels like that is the challenge that as a world we need to come together to solve. One of the most amazing things for us, one of the few benefits of it, is how that changes and enables us to grow wines, and I think that will be a massive shift for us in 15 years' time, would be my guess.
If you think what we started making, we never dreamt that we would be just beginning a journey of making still wines at this point. You know, actually, I
think I would say to that question, one of my, I'm a slight backroom boy on this. There's so many ideas of buzzing around with everybody. Not being a particular ideas man, I'm leaving that to other people. But the one thing that I've always been very clear about is quality. And I've always felt if we're going to do this and go into this venture, it's got to be good and consistently good and continue to be good. So for the next 15 years, I would say the quality remains important, and it means it's going to be expensive, I'm afraid. It is expensive, it's an expensive operation, but it is very good, and I think that's right.
I think the desire to stay small within the environment that we've created is fundamental, because you know, quality, you can only really guarantee quality by remaining small, or at least relatively small. We are fortunate to become more and more popular because of the quality of the wines and the quality of the family and the people behind this operation. And the way that we're opening up now in the years ahead is very, very exciting. But we will always remain small. We will always be a boutique producer, you know, amongst our peers, and we're really happy with that.
And actually, it's something that people, honestly, when they come again and again, really struggle to believe that when you know, when these wines, these vintage wines, are gone, they're gone. They really are made only from the crop of 1 year, and they are only as much as the weather that year gave us. And I think there is something I love nothing more than being around the winery when Dermot is starting to do blending. And it is honestly because of that scale, that we are small, it makes a difference if he blends that barrel, that tank, or that barrel, even if they all had Chardonnay in them. And it is honestly like watching an artist who say, I'll take a bit of that hue of white, and a bit of that hue of white, and a bit of that. That is something that's a bit different when you're sort of on the Moet Chandon scale, and you're making 10 billion bottles or whatever, they're probably 3 times that amount. So it is a privilege of our scale, I think.
It's a joy.
Right.
It's a joy to make wine on this level, because it means you retain a small team. It means that all of the component parts are integrating with each other in a really positive way, because a lot of us have been here for a long time, and we know that with the new members of the team who come recently, they're going to be with us on this journey for a long time.
You're part of the family whether you like it or not.
Welcome to the family.
Now, as you can see, we could probably keep talking. There's one other thing that I know actually you were keen for us to point out, that this amazing wine, which is in an amazing case, that actually was what we kind of put forward for tonight, which had this one of each in it. We are going to continue this 15-year celebratory offer right up until the 15th of May. So you are able to still get that.
And that just gives a taste of all the different.
So vintage and non-vintage.
Yeah, I was going to say rosé, Bonnet Blanc, and Cuvée.
So the whole shebang, which is again the joy.
This is our greatest hits. This combines many albums. This is our back catalogue in one easy to swallow capsule.
There we go. And I think, unless there is one more question, I think we very soon should be leaving you all to your Friday evenings, which you have been so generous to share this amount, with us. And we might then start eating the cake, because it never looks that great eating the refill on screen. But Ashley, are we good to go?
There is one question, Dermot, probably aimed at you more than anybody. Considering starting to plant a vineyard and make wine in Southern Ireland, what would be your advice?
That is a dope.
Good,
Brilliant.
Good luck. And invest in polytunnels. Or, if you're optimistic, like a lot of Irish people are, plant now, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and have a long timeline, because you never know what's going to happen in 30 years.
I thought he was going to switch on the Irish accent. It's amazing when you hear him talking to his mum.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much for joining us. And have a wonderful weekend.
Everyone. Really love you. Bless you all.
Thanks,
15 years. Lots of love.
Bless you.
Bye.